Welcome to the channel Business Analyst Perspective. Today we're going to talk about the concept of design thinking for business analysts. Now let us first try to understand the concept of design thinking. Design thinking is a philosophy which encourages organizations to focus on the people they're creating for, which leads to better products and services. The diagram below displays the steps for design thinking. They are empathize, define, ideate, prototype, and then test. These five blocks are very close to how an agile development environment should work. While designing solutions or solving problems, business analysts could leverage significant gains using these five steps. Now, is design thinking the new silver bullet for solving problems? Is the buzz behind design thinking worth the hype? Now, while designing solutions, mockups, workflows, shouldn't we always be looking for customer perspective? Shouldn't we always have empathy for the customer? So what's really new in design thinking? Had business analysts forgotten that? And hence it came as a prescribed medicine with a new fancy term, design thinking? To answer the question posed in the previous slide, where design thinking brings a refreshingly new perspective is the emphasis on the need to empathize. For a BA, this quality could completely change the way they approach their customers during the requirement gathering phase. For example, empathy while doing requirement gathering or problem understanding is doing these three things correctly. Understanding the customer, listening with intent to what the customer says, and understanding the untold and hidden needs of the customer. In the next slide, we would look at each of them individually. For a business analyst, it is important to know the customer in a very holistic sense. The user of your software could be anyone, from a college going millennial using a travel website to an operational team tracking airline data to a cargo truck driver offloading cargo via a handheld device to an elderly couple using a medical aid app. If you do not understand the motivations and problems of the target audience, you might very well end up designing a minimalistic, beautiful UI for someone who requires a basic, fast loading interface with rich data. A great example of this is the difference between the American websites of Starbucks and the Japanese version. While the American version on the left hand side is simpler and cleaner, the Japanese version has a lot more information and text crammed into the first page. This is primarily because the Japanese users desire more info upfront. This is reflected from a lot of cultural learnings, which is important for a BA to understand before designing applications, apps, or UI for them. We could use a lot of techniques to fully understand the customer and their motivations behind using a product or a software. Creating an empathy map canvas is one of them. It helps to visualize attitudes and behaviors of a user segment. Another powerful technique is creating customer journey maps for the processes that they normally follow in their area of work. This helps in understanding their problems and digital touchpoints and helps in creating a product which could enhance their experience. Listening with intent to what the customer says and not drown him with your own ideas. When the deadlines are near and there are a lot of requirements to finish, it is very tempting for a BA to lead the customers to the solutions which you or your organization wants to push. You feel happy that you have managed to dodge some really complicated technical questions and make your dev team happy. But more often than not, it unravels as a badly created software, which causes maintenance issues later. So always listen with humility. Now, this part is understanding the unconscious motivations of the user. That is, features that will help him or her, but often it is impossible for them to articulate it in the correct manner. Now, these are incredibly hard to discover. unless you provide a suitable conversation for it to emerge, or somehow you stumble upon it by observing the ecosystem of the customer. Some of these requirements are your typical non functional requirements. Some of these requirements are basically alternate approaches which a actual customer uses while using the software. And there are some more which emerge out of the necessity of the customer during a system crash or an outage or a backup approach that a customer uses, which oftentimes he would not tell you upfront. So a BA has to be careful and has to be observant in trying to get these requirements out at the earliest. Now back to the original discussion. Is design thinking really a new concept? A buzzword that is worth the hype? What I believe is that the business analyst of the modern world, whether working in a startup or in a big complex organization, is pushed in multiple directions by different motivating factors: project timelines, budget, complexity, technical limitation, customer inclinations, etc. In circumstances like these, a business analyst could rely on key aspects of design thinking to produce truly innovative features and solutions which would surprise the customers in a good way. To end, in the next slide, let's look at one of the interesting applications of design thinking which helped Airbnb overcome an initial glitch. I want to end this conversation by talking about an example of design thinking being used to solve a major problem at a startup. In 2009, Airbnb was at a nascent stage trying to find its footings. It was close to going bust as it was not getting enough traction. After going through a lot of data, they found out that they are not succeeding in getting great booking volumes, say from New York, because the pictures of the customer listings were really inferior. Now, these were pictures taken by customers' cameras or from some classified sites. People obviously did not book because they could not see what they were really paying for. The founders, instead of trying to solve the problem in a technical manner, approached it differently. They got hold of a camera, flew to New York, and clicked some high resolution pictures of the customer listings. Then they uploaded these pictures to the site. A week later, improving the pictures doubled the weekly revenue, and the rest is history. This was all because they understood the customer problem, empathized with their limitation of clicking beautiful photos, quickly found a solution, and tested a prototype. And now the concept of design thinking is ingrained into the operating model of their company. Thanks for watching.